Welcome to A Slice with Dice, a podcast exploring the ideas, pressures, and possibilities shaping how we learn, lead, and grow. I'm Corey Alderdice. For over 20 years, my work has lived at the intersection of gifted education, leadership development, and school culture, supporting students as they find their strengths, educators as they stretch their thinking, and schools as they build pathways that expand opportunity. Ready to dive in? Here's this week's Slice. In the last episode, I reflected on research from Gallup and Purdue University identifying 6 collegiate experiences that strongly correlate with graduating college on time and thriving later in life. What struck me most was not how complicated the findings were, but how human they were, as well as how beneficial they can also be for high schools. Students who felt known by adults, students who were excited about learning, students who had mentors, worked on sustained projects, applied their knowledge in real settings, and found community beyond the classroom. None of that sounded accidental. And that's the thread I want to pull on today. Because if belonging is not simply a personality trait of a school, if it's not just about having a few charismatic teachers or a particularly friendly student body, then the real question becomes structural. How do institutions design for it? That's where the work of Challenge Success at Stanford University becomes particularly helpful. Their S.P.A.C.E, S-P-A.C.E framework, the acronym that stands for Schedule, Purpose, Assessment, Culture, and Engagement, attempts to move conversations about student well-being out of the realm of slogans and into the realm of systems. So if the Gallup research describes outcomes, S.P.A.C.E describes levers. Start with schedule. Time is not neutral. The way a school structures its day signals what it values. A schedule overloaded with constant performance demands, class to class, test to test, practice to practice, can unintentionally communicate that productivity is the primary measure of worth. When students never experience margin, depth becomes difficult, relationships become transactional, reflection disappears. If we believe sustained projects and meaningful mentorships matter, then time must exist for those things to flourish. Belonging requires breathing room. Then there's purpose. Students are far more resilient when they can connect their effort to something beyond compliance. The Gallup findings highlighted internships and applied learning as predictors of success. That aligns with a simple developmental truth. Adolescents are motivated when they understand why something matters. Purpose does not require grandiosity. It requires coherence. It requires helping students see how algebra, literature, robotics, debate, or art fit into a larger narrative of becoming. And assessment may be the most delicate lever of all. The way schools measure learning shapes identity. When assessment systems overemphasize ranking and comparison, students can begin to equate worth with performance. In high-achieving environments, that can lead to fragile identities, students who excel but fear misstep. If long-term thriving correlates with deep work and intellectual enrichment, then assessment must instead reward mastery, iteration, and growth, not simply speed and precision. Otherwise, rigor becomes anxiety-producing rather than identity-building. Culture, then, is perhaps the most obvious, yet the most misunderstood dimension. Culture is not posters on walls or mission statements in handbooks. It's the accumulation of daily signals. Who is celebrated? What is forgiven? How do adults speak to students when they struggle? Do students feel psychologically safe asking questions, admitting confusion, or expressing dissent? If the Gallup research reminds us that students succeed when they feel cared for as people, then culture must reinforce that students are more than transcripts. And finally, engagement. And this, I think, is where extracurricular life intersects with identity. Schools that encourage deep participation, not just resume stacking, but genuine involvement, provide students with multiple avenues to belong. a robotics team, a choir, a service organization, a theater production, a student government body. These are not peripheral to academic life. They are stabilizers. They give students a social anchor that often buffers academic stress. They communicate that contribution matters. So what becomes clear when you place the Gallup findings alongside S.P.A.C.E. is that belonging is not an accidental byproduct of goodwill. It's the result of aligned systems. Schedule makes depth possible. Purpose makes effort meaningful. Assessment shapes identity. Culture determines psychological safety. And engagement builds community. And here's the critical insight. Misalignment in any one of those areas can undermine the others. A school can preach purpose but overload its schedule. It can value mentorship but leave no time for advisory. It can celebrate extracurricular involvement but structure assessment in ways that punish risk-taking. It can speak of culture while allowing subtle hierarchies to go unchecked. Design matters. And that's particularly relevant in environments where academic intensity is high. It's entirely possible for students to achieve at impressive levels while quietly experiencing isolation or pressure. Metrics may look strong, but belonging may not be. The S.P.A.C.E. framework does not ask schools to reduce expectations. It asks them to examine alignment. Are our systems reinforcing the kind of human development we say we value? Are we constructing environments where students are known, challenged deeply, connected to purpose, and integrated socially? The Gallup research told us what predicts thriving, but S.P.A.C.E. helps us ask whether our institutional architecture makes those predictors likely. And perhaps that's the shift. Instead of treating belonging as a cultural aspiration, we begin treating it as an operational priority. Not something we hope emerges organically, but something we intentionally build. In the next episode, I want to wrestle with a tension that naturally follows. Some schools, particularly schools of choice, specialized programs, and independent models, may be structurally positioned to prototype belonging-rich environments more easily. Smaller scale, clearer mission, opt-in culture. But does that mean belonging becomes a boutique advantage? Or is it an obligation that all schools, including large, comprehensive community schools, should strive to universalize? If belonging predicts thriving, then the question is not whether we can afford to design for it. It's whether we can afford not to. A Slice with Dice is a production of Aldercube. Thanks for making time to reflect with me. If you're finding value in these episodes, I hope you'll subscribe and help spread the word. Until next time, lead boldly, listen closely, and keep pushing forward. I'll see you then.